The India-Australia Virtual Bilateral Summit is officially underway. Now, this is the first time that India is participating in a virtual summit with another nation. India and Australia have upgraded their bilateral ties to a comprehensive strategic partnership. In a clear message to China, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that it is the sacred duty of every country to uphold the rule of law and accord respect to fellow nations. Prime Minister Modi called for strengthening India-Australia ties to ensure stability in the Indo-Pacific region.
और किस प्रकार अपने लक्ष्य को प्राप्त किया जा सकता है, उसी का उदाहरण।
वैश्विक कल्याण के मूल्य जैसे लोकतंत्र, रूल ऑफ लॉ, फ्रीडम, म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट, इंटरनेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस का सम्मान और पारदर्शिता आदि को अपहोल्ड करना और प्रोटेक्ट करना हमारी सैक्रेड रिस्पांसिबिलिटी है। यह एक प्रकार से भविष्य के लिए हमारी धरोहर है।
The Prime Minister also thanked the Australian government for looking after the Indian students who are stuck in Australia due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
आपने ऑस्ट्रेलिया में भारतीय समुदाय का और खास तौर पर भारतीय छात्रों का, हमारे स्टूडेंट्स का जिस तरह ध्यान रखा है, उसके लिए मैं विशेष रूप से आपका आभारी हूं।
For his part, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said that India's role in the Indo-Pacific will be critical in the years to come. He also commended Prime Minister Modi for his leadership at international forums like the G20.
In the Indo-Pacific, we are committed to an open, inclusive, prosperous Indo-Pacific. And India's role in that region, our region, will be critical in the years ahead. A joint declaration on a shared vision for maritime cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. We share an ocean and we share responsibilities for that ocean as well. Its health, its well-being, its security, and the relationship we're forming around those issues in our maritime domain, I think, is the platform for so many other things between our countries.
Prime Minister Morrison also congratulated India for taking over as the chairperson of the WHO's executive body. Remember, Australia was one of the first countries to call for WHO reforms and demand a probe into the origins of COVID-19.
I also want to commend India on its leadership in these multilateral forums, particularly on taking the chair of the World Health Organisation's executive board. This is a very important time to be chairing that executive board, and I have no doubt that the way that will be led under India's leadership will be critical to how we deal with the many difficult problems that we are encountering globally, particularly in the health area.
It wasn't just serious business during the virtual interaction. Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Morrison have shared many lighter moments on Twitter over the years, and this bromance was visible during their opening remarks as well. Listen in.
It doesn't surprise me that this is how we would continue to seek to meet in these circumstances when you were the one who started the hologram, when you were campaigning many years ago. And so if maybe the next time we can have a hologram of Your Excellency here in Australia, and likewise. I wish I could be there for what has become the famous Modi hug, and while not and be able to share my samosas, which I thank you for. We had a bit of fun with that on the weekend. So next time it'll have to be the Gujarati Kishti, which I know is a keen favourite of yours, and you've mentioned to me before. So I'll try that out in the kitchen before next time we meet in person.
Our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Subal, joins us for more on this story. Good evening to you, Siddhant. Please tell us, what is the key outcome of the summit?
From samosa diplomacy to virtual diplomacy, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi today met his Australian counterpart, the Prime Minister of Australia, Scott Morrison, via online medium. Number of MOUs were announced, from cyber security to education to a military pact, a logistics pact between both the countries, which was delayed considerably. But now, of course, the focus is on a vision, the vision on Indo-Pacific. In fact, both India and Australia announced a separate statement on maritime vision when it comes to Indo-Pacific, which calls for free, open and prosperous Indo-Pacific. In fact, both the leaders emphasized on it during their opening statement. So while China was not mentioned both in the joint statement and the opening statement, it was very much present in the room. Concerns regarding Beijing being very combative, both with Australia and with India. And of course, in the region, we know with Australia, China is having a trade spat, and with India, it is the border row. So that is something that both the countries have convergences on, and for that, we know that both the countries are working as well. But there were certain lighter moments as well, with the Australian Prime Minister talking about samosas and khichdi, and of course talking about the virtual diplomacy. He lauded Indian Prime Minister for taking this leap, talking about how the Indian Prime Minister has been a pioneer when it comes to use of technology. He used holograms. This was highlighted by the Australian Prime Minister during his election hearing in the general election here in India. So these were the points which were also emphasized by both the leaders, by both the Indian Prime Minister and the Australian Prime Minister. So by and large, a high moment when it comes to the relationship between India and Australia with this first ever virtual summit.
Right, and Sudan, what are the benefits of the logistics pact that's arranged?
Well, the military logistics arrangement is something that was being delayed primarily because of the delay in the visit by the Australian Prime Minister. But finally, it has been announced by both India and Australia. And Australia is the fifth country with which India has this kind of arrangement, this kind of pact, military pact, after four important countries, which is US, Singapore, South Korea and France. And of course, India is in conversation with Japan to have this kind of arrangement. Talks are also starting with Russia and UK. So what is the benefit of this logistics agreement? One of the benefits is the fact that both the countries have this reciprocity when it comes to usage of logistics, whether it is fueling. For example, an Indian ship is in the South Indian Ocean towards south of the Indian Ocean, and it can get oil from an Australian tanker. Also, the depth of the Indian naval ships increases, especially in south of Indonesia and of course other parts of Pacific. And of course, if any Indian ship has to go to any harbour in Australia, the bureaucratic clearances also reduces, the paperwork reduces. So this is something that helps in ease of doing things, and of course increases the depth of the Indian naval forces and of course the Australian naval forces as well. In the past, we have seen increase in the collaboration when it comes to India and Australia. Last year, when the naval exercises between both the countries happened in Visakhapatnam, Australia had participated in full strength with a submarine as well. So this is a graduation or an upgradation when it comes to military ties between India and Australia at a time when we have seen China becoming very combative, very aggressive, as we all have been talking about.